Hi everybody, it's been a long time since I did any kind of update. I think I have 6 months of races to catch up on before I get started in our part of the world. The Kentucky Derby is about to happen in a couple of days. And so for Derby, what people do is dress like idiots. So I'm wearing a bow tie. It's not one that you actually tie. I don't know how to tie a bow tie. In fact, I've only worn a bow tie twice in my life, this being the second time. All right, so going back in time, 6 months. I raced at Indianapolis Monumental. I don't believe I posted any kind of update about that. I missed my goal time, and the reason I missed my goal time was because I knew I was ready to run my goal time and raced really hard in the first half and ran out of steam. I really came close, and if you look at I did a comparison yesterday of like every half marathon that I've done by mile. So just like, here's what my time for mile 1 was for all 4, and here's what time for mile 2 was for all 4, and just did all the way out. And if you look at miles 10, 11, 12, if I had shaved, if I had ran my average for those 3 miles instead of slowing down for those 3 miles, I would have hit it. But it wasn't in the tank. I remember being 2 miles out and thinking I need to finish in this amount of time and I'll hit my goal, which was a doable time. But when I went to push, there wasn't anything to push with. So I just finished with what I had. And that was kind of the end of my fall. I raced a 3K. My son wanted to run one of the races with me. We were at the Monumental, and he said, the next time you do one, I want to do it with you. And I knew that this was happening the next weekend. So I jogged that with him. There was no official time even, so I don't count it. But he said he never wanted to do it again while it was happening. Since then, he says he wants to do it again. He was trying to just breathe through his nose or not breathe at all through the whole thing. So he turned red real fast. And he definitely learned some lessons. Since then, because he plays soccer, we did a bunch of running on the track to get him ready for soccer season. So I think he's learned his lesson well. All right, flash forward. Right before the end of the year, like around the 27th or 28th of December, I tested positive for COVID. And I was out for 9 days from running. I didn't run at all for 9 days. And when I came back to running, obviously I had lost a step or two. Not just from being out from that amount of time, but also just like the impact that it had on my body. It was a pretty rough one. But then I started back up. Then sometime, I can't remember what part of the winter it was, but we had a very cold snap. And for a while, I just didn't go outside. About 2 weeks, I only ran inside. And when I finally went back outside again, shock to the lungs again, because you're not used to the air, the cold air. So it felt like I was in this place, but I was really in this place. And then I started to develop some kind of sinus infection, which really lasted for like a month and a half, on and off, but pretty consistently present. In February, I raced one in Louisville called the Snowman Shuffle, which is in Cherokee Park. And it was a little hilly, not too bad. I actually raced okay on not much training. I didn't have much of a base. And I remember like I was hacking during the race. Like I was still sick. That week I remember I shouldn't be going to this race because I think getting something, but then I decided to do it. But once I started, I was fine, except for like hacking. So yeah, I raced that and it was okay. Some kid who was, I think he was 16 based on the race results. We were coming up there was like a hill you climb about 200 meters from the finish, right? And he was like dragging his heels at the top of the hill. And I was like, come on, man, let's finish strong. And then he wanted to race. And I said, all right, I'll race. A 39-year-old man, I'll race you. And this 39-year-old man can still sprint. And I beat him. I did. And then I tried to shake his hand afterwards, and he brushed me off. He was not happy. Now, chip time, he beat me by like 7 minutes. But because he started so far behind me, we finished at almost the same time. But I outsprinted him at the finish, so I'm going to hold on to that. So then I was sick after that, missed a lot of days and had some weak mileage weeks heading into the Triple Crown, which I was able to do all 3 races this year. So starting with the 5K, where I ran on a very low training, but I still ran close to my PR. Certainly my official PR, meaning I ran a 5K exclusively that distance, and it was chip timed, and I have an official time for a 5K. I have a 5K split from the Monumental, which is actually my 5K PR. During that race, I mentioned I went out really fast. I set my 1 mile, 2 mile, 5K, 10K, 10 mile, 15K, 20K, and half marathon PR. All of them. You're not supposed to set your mile PR in a half marathon. That's not supposed to happen. 5K either, or 2 mile. Really not even 10K. But that's what I did because I was a giddy jackrabbit. So I ran close to that time for 5K. I knew I wasn't going to be in that kind of shape because I didn't have the kind of base that I needed. So it was my official 5K PR. Officially timed 5K PR. And then after that, I went hard in training. Went through to the 10K. I ran 3 minutes faster than last year, but it would be my PR if, according to Strava, if Strava had granted me credit for a 10K. It said I ran 6.3 something miles, like well over 10K. If I flip it over to kilometers, it says 10 point blah 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 mile or kilometers, right? It says, Strava says I ran 10K. But when you go to the bottom and it shows like your best segments in this run, it does not say I ran 10K. It's not listed. And if it were, I would have set a PR. So just going by the chip time, I actually missed my PR by a little bit. But for the distance, it would have been if Strava was on my side. It was okay. Obviously not in the race shape that I wanted to be in for that day, but we got the job done. So then 2 weeks later was the 15K. The week leading up to the 15K, we were on vacation. I ran only 6 miles that Monday through Friday on treadmills in hotels. Because I was kind of playing the tape and kind of like, I'm just going to relax my way into this race. And I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have pushed for strength through that week. But the other thing was that my son wanted to come to the gym with me both of those days. And about a half an hour was as much as I was going to get out of him. So couldn't go any further than 3 and keep my eyes on him and all that stuff. So yeah, I rolled into the 15K. I wanted to run even 5K splits at a certain number to be right at my 15K PR that I had set in Indianapolis. And the first one, I was off by a minute, and then it got worse. My sinus stuff was real bad. It was really bad the whole week we were on vacation. Like, it had gotten way worse. I have since learned that it's just allergies. If I take an allergy pill every day, it goes away. I have skipped the last 2 days on my allergy pill, and I'm feeling it today. But yeah, I have learned that it's allergies. So that race did not go as expected. I missed my time by about 4 minutes. And then we get to the mini marathon, the Kentucky Derby mini marathon, which was just this past weekend. And I, in between the 15K and the mini, worked really hard. I did a lot of big runs. I did a lot of speed work. I did a lot of what I call NRT, non-running training, the weights and squats and all the stuff. And I still had a weak base. I knew that I had a weak base going in, but I was going to do everything that I could, given that short runway, to try and get in decent enough shape. And as I was going in, my last 12-miler before the race was real hilly, but it was right off. Let me say this differently. It was really hilly, and if you take that into consideration and do like a grade adjusted pace, that GAP would be right on the PR time that I needed. So I felt really good about where I was at. But then the day was hot. It was hot and humid and windy. So the first half was really windy, and I also had decided a plan. I was going to run with the pacer for my goal time and then make a decision at 10 miles. Either I stay with this pacer or I go off on my own because I feel like I'm in good shape and I can do better. And in my corral, I did not see a pacer for the time that I wanted to hit. Turns out they were in the corral behind me, like 200 people back. I don't know what time I put on my application for the race, but apparently faster than what I was going to do. So I didn't run with the pacer. I mean, I was determining pace on my own, and as we were going, and I knew from my splits and checking my watch that I was going too fast, and I was trying to get it under control, but the adrenaline and all the rest and just your momentum, I couldn't rein it in. So I was running these splits against the wind for the first half, and then we turn around, the wind's at my back, and it started to get hot, and I didn't have anything in the tank. So I made it in. I was 4 minutes faster than my time from last year. I was 8 minutes slower than my time from Indianapolis. It felt like a failure. Everybody that has said, no, it wasn't. Everybody ran bad that day. But I have for 6 months been thinking about this day, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to finally get this monkey off my back and hit my time that he didn't hit in Indianapolis. It didn't happen. So I'm a little bit salty about that. Now the thinking is, what do I do for the fall? Because I did a fall half last year, and I had told my brother, if I leave the mini with a bad taste in my mouth, I might do a half in the fall. But I still like the idea of doing a bunch of 5 and 10Ks in the fall and just working on, let's bring this pace into reality. Like, let's speed up, and then take that speed into the winter and build a big base for next spring. So I think that's still the plan, but we'll see. I also kind of need to figure out. There's one race that I know is going to happen, but I don't know what weekend it's going to be. I would like to register for this other race, but it might fall on the same weekend, and then I'll have to make a decision. But so yeah, that's the last 6 months. I'm not in any better shape than I was. But onwards we go. I'll see you out there.